start with my presentation, so I ask to everybody to join me here. I'm gonna explain what is bioprinting and how we can use this technology in e-NABLE in the future. No, not right now, because we need to learn a lot of stuff before, but I'm gonna bring the basis of this kind of technology, right? So that is my main purpose, to show the technology, to show the biomaterials, and what I expect to do in the future with this technology, right? So, I'm gonna show, maybe you can see here, sorry. That's okay for you? Yeah. So, first of all, I want to say that this is part of my job in my PhD. I developed, this is a technique to create blood vessels with different kinds of biomaterials and salts. So, I'm going to explain later why I was focused on these kind of tissues and how we can use this technology to connect prostheses to the body. So first of all, here in the States, more than 21 people is dying every day because they don't have a way to get an organ. That is a huge problem, right? And the second is that normally when you are doing research in the lab, you use animals like this, like a pig, like a mouse, like a monkeys, to test different drugs, yeah? And that is something that is going against the I don't know how to say that, it's like the ethics, exactly, yeah? But there is no other way to test that, right? So we would like to use this kind of technology to test drugs and all kind of molecules and stuff, chemicals, just to avoid the use of this kind of experiments. So, first of all, I'm gonna explain what is 3D bioprinting. As you can see in the same word, bio means that you can use biological stuff like cells, right? So you mix the cells with biomaterials to get a bio ink. That is the difference between the normal printing, 3D printing, and the bioprinting. So the objective of this is to guarantee the cell function and viability and to print constructs that define scaffolds. So one of the most important things of the bioinks is to guarantee the diffusion and perfusion of media. So it means that cells can get nutrients, can get media to feed, right? And to get connection with other cells, right? And it allows the use of different kinds of biomaterials, like synthetics, like materials that replicate the extracellular matrix, and biological biomaterials as well, like a cellulose, like alginate, right? To make the generation of tissues and analogous organs analogs. So, first of all, the second step is to know what 3D bioprinting technologies means and what is the process. Sorry, that distracted me. What is that? Yeah, thank you. So, 3D bioprinting technology has 6 steps. The first step is to take the imaging. So you can take the image by X-rays, CT, MRI, right? Usually I took the image from a 3D scan, yeah? So the second step is the design approximation. For example, if you take a 3D scan from your Earth, you have the digital design of that and you can replicate that and print that part as you know and you have been doing maybe in your projects, right? But there is another approximation, not only biomimicry, is cell assembly and mini tissues. You can use that approximation to print tissues. In the third step, you have to select the biomaterial that you are going to use, like synthetic polymers, natural polymers, material that can replicate the extracellular matrix. And that depends on the kind of tissue that you want to replicate. Not all the biomaterials are biocompatible with all kinds of cells, and not all the biomaterial you can implant inside of your body. For example, if you use one kind of acrylate to make a cornea or something like that, you cannot implant that kind of biomaterial inside of your knee because it is going to create a reaction, right? So it depends on the kind of tissue that you're going to implant. Then you can select the cells that you're going to use, mix it with the biomaterial. You can select cells that are already differentiated, pluripotent cells or multipotent cells. So that means that you can know exactly what kind of tissue you can print. And in the fifth step, you can select the technology that you will use to print the biomaterial. And it depends on the rheology of the material, of course. For example, if the density of the material, of the biomaterial is too high, you can use microstructure because the pressure is higher. You can use as well inkjet technology, laser-assisted technology, DLP, or laser, or another kind of technologies are able to be used to print different biomaterials. And the last is the application. You can put the tissue that you print in a maturation process. You can implant that, or you can put that in in vitro testing, right? Just to make the tissue functional. So here are some of the samples that you can print, and it depends on the level of difficulty to print it, right? So in the first category, we can find two-dimensional tissues like a skin and cartilage. Yeah, cartilage is a two-dimensional tissue because it doesn't have vascular networks. In the second category, we can print, for example, tubular structure, hollow tubes, like veins, like aortic valves, like a tracheal spleen. In the third category, we can find hollow numb tubes structure, like the stomach, like what is the name of this?
Kidney?
No, kidney no, because there is an organ.
Ah.
Bladder. And in the fourth category, we can print, it is about the solid organs. But the complex of print organ lies in that this, you can find a lot of density in the structure and a lot of cells. I mean, the density of the tissue is higher than in a common tissue, right? And the amount of cells that you use is higher than the normal tissues. So that is the complexity. And keep alive all those cells is very hard. It's because you have to feed those cells, and you have to keep them alive. So that is why it is needed to create a vascular network to keep them alive. Yeah? So here are some applications in the real world where you can use 3D bioprinting technology. So this is an example from China, an university there in a research lab. They made an experiment with 5 children. There is 4, but in the real paper you can find the 5 examples. So you print the scaffold, the ear scaffold, right? And you see the scaffold with their own cells. So after a while, you can implant that to the children, like you can see here in the sample, right? So you are in this approximation. You are printing first the scaffold. It doesn't have cells inside, right? So that is not real bioprinting. Yeah, you are printing a scaffold and you see the cells over the structure. Here, you see that is the that is Kaiva. He worked with an obstruction in their lungs, so he couldn't breathe properly, and they print that structure, right, with a biomaterial that is biocompatible. So it means and biodegradable as well. So it means that with the time, the biomaterial disappeared with the time, right? So the only left is the cells that go through the structure and create the tissue to bring the support to the lung, right? Here, the bladders are seated with cells, and it can be implanted. It is a work that was developed by Anthony Atala in the Wake Lake Forest. You can see his tech talk on internet. So he is developing at this moment the way how you can print a kidney, a full organ and functional organ, right? So researchers and people, they say that more or less in 5 to 10 years, you will be able to find the way how to buy this kind of organs and to be implanted into the body, right? So I'm gonna show you some of my work that I made in the Erlangen University and in the selling company, the company who create this kind of technology with the bioprinter. So here is a network, it's a vascular network with different biomaterials, with different layers and different size. But the most important is that you can create the real environment of the cells and the vascular network using different kind of cells at the same time. So here we can find, for example, selling fibrin that is mixed with Fabrilab, selling laminin that is mixed with endothelial cells, one core that is made with pluronics. This is a special kind of biomaterial. When you increase the temperature, it becomes tough. And when you decrease the temperature, it becomes liquid. So that is pretty good to create tissues. And you can create the extracellular matrix with selling gelma. So there is 4 biomaterials with different kind of cells. This is part of the experiment that I performed in my research using different kind of cells. As you see, here is the vascular network structure, and here are the different layers with endothelial cells, muscle cells, and fibroblasts. And I designed with console CFD tool a coaxial nozzle. So that is the nozzle that I used to print the vascular networks, and I tested it with console just to see how the fluids come through the nozzle and what are the pressure and the velocities of the nozzle inside, just to avoid the death of cells. Yeah, here are 2 videos that I want to share with you, just showing what is possible to print with that coaxial nozzle. So, after the preclinic testing and the implantation on animals, you have to validate that it works, of course. And that the development is biocompatible and you can implant that on humans beings, right? So that structure has fibroblasts, endothelial cells, and an internal lumen that was made by, with pluronics. So I decrease the temperature and then I perfuse a media through the vascular network, the vascular structure, just to show that its structure can conduit median and blood as well. And here is the microfluidics device that I developed just to show that it is possible as well to print a structure like this. I mean, normally the microfluidic structures are 2D, but with this development you can create 3D structure to test drugs or something different. So, with this machine it's possible to make the automatization of the construction and of the structure that you want to test with microfluidics technology. So you see there in the video that you are perfusing media through the structure. So, the state of the art of this kind of technology, we can say that this is the higher level of the research in this kind of device. So you can connect different microorgans on a chip, right? With vessels, and it appears in this magazine that is one of the most important in the world, that is called Science, right? And I want to share a video of this development that was performed here in the States. Which one? Rice University. Rice. Yeah.
In this research, we're asking, what is the structure of human tissue, and how does that structure underlie its function?
Here what we're trying to do is figure out how to build living tissues made of soft gels and living cells.
In the lung, we have the airway and its surrounding bloodstream. What we are seeing here is that the distension of the airway is actually helping to boost the mixing of the blood in the vascular architecture that's flowing around the airway. This is something that may happen inside of the human lung, and it's something that we are exploring more to inform new designs for living tissue.
One of the challenges in our field is making large tissue blocks that have viable and functional cells. And we can make these tissue blocks pretty easily, but the challenge is actually maintaining the viability and functionality of cells inside them. What we're really excited about is making scalable tissues that could one day be implanted into humans.
One of the biggest challenges in making living tissue is figuring out how to get nutrients and oxygen into the tissue and how to get waste products out. The way that our body does this is with vascular networks. But in fact, it's been very difficult to get blood vessel architectures into soft materials in which cells can live. This has been just a big challenge in the field for the past several decades. Our lab has been adapting 3D printing technologies for growing soft tissues.
This project was really facilitated and enabled by open source projects like RepRap, Approximation, and Crucia. And we're really excited about the ability to also contribute back to the open source community. We believe that science should be open.
When you think about your body, your lungs, your heart, and other tissues are constantly in motion. And so the fact that we're beginning to explore the 3D printing of these dynamic structures, such as valves or dynamic lung-like tissues, is incredibly important for the field.
We are only at the beginning of our exploration of the architectures found in the human body. we still have so much more to learn.
So as they say, we are only at the beginning of this kind of research, but it is a really high promising technology in the future. As I say, maybe in 5-10 years we'll be find a way how to create a full organ and transplant that with total functions. So now I'm going to show some of the celling technology and the need for vascularization. So one of the biggest challenges that is facing into the bioprinter field is to develop the way how to replicate vascular networks. Because as I say, that is the only way to keep the cells alive, right? And to take the waste products from the cells away, right? That is why nowadays there is no an organ that is able to be transplanted in a human being, right? So celling is focused on this as well, but it's focused in many kinds of tissues to replicate different kinds of tissues, but it's focused as well in this topic. So when you use different kind of cells like endothelial cells and fibroblast cells, you can create this kind of vascular networks. And with this kind of printer, you can replicate those structures, yeah, and make that functional. So they create a kit that is called the basket, so you can do your own experiment, but you can create as well your own bioreactor, mini reactor. So, for example, I create my own, yeah. This is one that I create, so you can buy that, or yeah. But the most important is that this technology is pretty dynamic, and it is possible to use different strategies and approximation to create the experiment that you want. So, celling has more than 60 different biomaterials, right?
In every country.
So you can use alginate, cellulose, you can use fibrin, different molecules, growth factors, chitosan, PLC, PLA. You can use many different biomaterials to be implanted into the body. And with those kind of biomaterials, you can replicate tissue like intestine, liver, pancreas. With conductive ink, bioinks, you can create neural tissue models. All of these examples is for research purpose. No, it doesn't mean that you can implant that into the body, because you have to follow a long process. Like when you create a drug, then you have to test that with a preclinical testing and with animals, and do all this protocol very well, just to be pretty sure that is secure for people, right? So I don't know if you have seen on the news, heard that was like a beating, right? It was something like this inside of a gel. That is a fresh printing approximation. So you can print inside of material that serves like a structure, like a super material. You can print that and make it works, right? So this machine can use different kind of technology to print. So this one is the pneumatic in different size, the pneumatic 3 millimeters and pneumatic 10 millimeters that you can use here. This machine is modular, so you can take off the you can take off the tool, the print head, and change the tool for example, for the temperature control or for the shearing pump that is a mechanic, it doesn't use a pneumatic system, or you can use the inkjet print head or the thermoplastic one. So it's up to you what you want to use, and of course, what kind of biomaterial you want to print. For example, I want to say first of all that I am not working with Celine at this moment. I was intern and Celine during 3 months in Sweden, but I am just bringing information to you. It's up to you if you want to use the technology or not, right? So, but I just want to show you what is the characteristics of this machine. The most important is, for example, that you can sterilize the atmosphere inside with UV and as well with the HEPA filters that are here. That is very important at the moment when you are working with cells. You have to guarantee the sterilization of all the environment. As well, it is a modular system that can control the temperature and the temperature as well here in the print bed, sorry. And it has a platform that is a touch screen system, and you have to follow a protocol to print whatever thing that you want. So, and if you want to know something more about this kind of technology, you can go through the bioprinting community and download the cells and tissues models that are there in the page. Selling page is here, right? You can download the print data and the collaborator data as well, all the papers that they publish using this kind of technology. So now you have to take care to take in account what a printability means when you are using biomaterials, right? So it means that you have to keep the structure, you have to keep the integrity of the shape that you are printing, right? But not only that, you have to keep the perfusion of media through the biomaterial. And you have to prove that the cells can keep alive during the printing process. As you see here are some cells that are dead, and so some cells that are alive with the live death test. And to guarantee that the tissue start to secrete extracellular matrix. That is the most important thing, because that guarantee that the tissue is working as you want, and all the molecules are being created by this tissue, right?
Well, the ECM is how cell-to-cell communication happens too. So without that, you don't have
Exactly.
communication.
That molecules bring the communication between the cells, like aggrecan, collagen, matrilene. There is an example, but there is many things that happens inside of a tissue. So, and you have to guarantee that you can mix different biomaterials at the same time, and there is no sloppy. For example, when you mix PLA with ABS, what happens? Tell me.
Won't stick.
Exactly. So they have to guarantee that when you mix different biomaterials, they keep together. And for example, here is the way how you can change the stiffness of one structure that you print. So you can use UV and ionic method to cross-link the polymers that are inside of the structure and change the stiffness of the structure. And for example, you see here is weak, right? It doesn't look like a bone. And here, using different cross-linking ways, you can guarantee that the structure is quite close to the structure of a bone, right? Yeah. So, and the most important, you have to guarantee the integration of the structure that you print into the body, right? So, Celine is working with all those universities, most of them in Europe and here in the States, right? And I'm gonna show you some of my work with the printer that I assembled by myself, and I designed the firmware, the hardware, the electronics, and the pneumatic system to make it possible. So, as you see here, how many colors you see here?
5.
5, right? So it means that you can use 4 different print heads and print different biomaterials mixed with different cells and put all together to create, for example, tissue like a skin, right? Because skin is not just a single layer. Skin has many layers. So that's why it is important to have this technology and be able to print a structure with different biomaterials at the same time. Here we can see a structure that can be used for microfluidics purpose. I mean, you can use that instead of the 2D structure. You can use this to make the perfusion and keep, for example, an organ chip alive, right? So this is the machine that I wanted to bring here. As you see, there is 4 different spring heads, and I'm gonna just leave the video just to show you what it can do.
So I got a question.
Yeah.
So when we were able to so we are able to use some organs, but when we're able to fully commercially transplant organs in this method, would you consider these medical devices, drug treatments, or would a whole new category of, for at least the U.S. standardization, would that be necessary?
Everything is necessary, of course. You want to pass through all these things. All the validation and security is needed, of course.
My point is, there's a pipeline for medical devices independently of a pipeline for drugs and therapeutics. So do you think, where would organs that are made on a bioprinter, where would those fall in a category of a product? I'm just curious if it's something you've ever thought about.
I don't know. I don't know. What is that?
I would think, personally, it might require a whole new category
Of course, the machine is working with biomaterials and cell. It has to be tested like a medical, like you see how the laws regulate the processes. It has to be regulated like the same. Yeah.
Well, how would a mechanical valve, arc valve, be classified today? It's no different. It's a mechanical device that goes.
Not in Germany.
So, sorry if I interrupt you. I developed the coaxial nozzle just to print a structure like a veins, like vascular networks. And as you can see here in the video, you can print at the same time all materials in a concentric way, like I say, in a coaxial way, or each of the material in a single way. So this kind of nozzle can be used as well in normal printing, or to print food or something like that. It is not, the only application of that is not only bioprinting.
Christian,
Yeah.
you're printing on a plane.
Yeah.
Can you do non-planar printing with this?
Yeah. So in this video, you can see one structure that was printed using the machine that I show you, right? That is not planar, and I'm gonna show you this video, how is the process to print this structure. Oh, sorry.
So the gel matrix allows you to do that.
Yeah, it serves like a support to support the biomaterial.
Like liquid support.
It looks like that liquid is not very viscous like water.
Yeah, it's a kind of
Gel.
but the rheology is different than the water, of course, just to keep the structure. Yeah.
Now, how compatible are the living cells that you're creating with a human body? Do you have rejection issues?
No, that's why we use only biomaterial that have been tested already in the lab with cells.
And the patient cells too. Patient cells too. So you're not only using the biomaterials, but you're using the patient cells, their own cells, not someone else's transplanted cells.
Yeah, that is the main purpose of the, since the 3D printing technology was created, for me the main purpose is to customize things. Yeah, so if you develop something, is especially for a person. It is not for mass production, of course. So here is the skin anatomy. As you see, there is different layers. So with this machine, you can create that, and with this machine as well, right? So I'm gonna show you two videos that shows each of the machine that sending rings to the people and are able to, I don't know what happens.
How long would it take to print something like that?
It is the same time that you spend when you are printing with normal printers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Depends on the layer.
Sorry?
Depends on the layer.
Yeah, and depends on the rheology of the biomaterial and the resolution. It depends on many factors, but it's quite close to the time that you spend when you are printing with normal.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Chris, you were mentioning this morning, though, it's not just the print time, because once it's printed, it then has to undergo the biogenesis of the cells, and they have to grow, and that could take weeks to a month
Yeah.
for the function to develop.
Yeah. So you have two ways to print. For example, if you print a vascular network, you can print with the biomaterials adapted to those kind of cells and wait just for the migration of those cells to grow through that biomaterial. Or you can seed the biomaterials with the cells and accelerate the process. Oh, sorry. Something happened to my computer. Yeah. So now I'm gonna say why I am doing this work, because my dream is to make it possible in the future. I don't know how long it is going to spend, but it's to connect synthetic systems directly to your body but not only to make the control of the prosthesis, because it is demonstrated that if you use the directly connection with the nerve of your arm, the control of the prosthesis is awesome. Is much better than if you use myoelectric systems or other kind of system. And the other is to have total feedback. I mean, you can sense pressure, temperature, yeah, with this kind of approximation. So it brings the possibility to create a synthetic system like a prosthesis, but with the properties of a real organ. Yeah?
Chris?
Yeah.
Has anybody printed a functioning nerve segment yet?
Nerve.
Nerve.
I know that they have wire already, the column, yeah, but I don't know which kind of
This
biomaterial.
technology, because nerve cells are
So
particularly tricky.
I know as well that they have built grafts with cells with cells inside. You want to see?
Finish.
Yeah, and they have tested that on animals, and they make a mouse that was paralyzed to move again. Of course, I don't know if they have tested already in human. I guess no, but
So at Florida Atlantic University, we have a professor, Dr. Eric Ingenberg, who I've mentioned is who we work with, but he's a part of a group called the RoboSynapse group at our university, and it's very similar to the team that we saw at the APL. It's made up of multidisciplinary minds, neurologists, psychologists, machine learning people, robotics, everyone's there. But the point is, how can we innervate cells with signals that we're getting from a robotic prosthetic? And so they've created this setup where they're actually culturing cells in a lab, neuronal stem cells in a lab, and they're inputting them via electrical stimulation from a tactile sensation and running it through processing to give it a stimulus, electrical, and also mechanical stimulus. So they're applying a pneumatic pressure to it as well. And the goal is to create some kind of what is called long-term potentiation, or that constant activation of those neurons. So they are stimulated to grow and start to create a cell archetype that can be implanted into someone that maybe doesn't have that functionality or that neural network, perhaps.
So they're doing that, it's just not 3D printed, but they're trying to stimulate the growth of an artificial nerve.
Right. So they're still connecting it back into the prosthesis, though, because they're tying in the user's own tactile sensing, but also their control of their device, too. So kind of both of those things are kind of both feeding back into it, too.
Well, I'm just thinking, Chris has grown basically a blood vessel, right?
yeah.
In situ, a functioning blood vessel. Can you grow in situ a functioning nerve that can, I'm just,
What you're saying is exactly right. So here at University of Minnesota, they were 3D printing silicone, and over that were 3D printing using neonatal nerve cells. And so what they created is a patch for where you could have a break in the spinal column in order to allow for regeneration. So in that way, it's not really the same thing.
well, it's all leading.
Well, but this was using nerve cells. The closest thing to that would be the Sheffield University in Britain, where they are printing a conduit through which to allow the nerves to regenerate, to heal, and so they're calling it a nerve guidance system. And that's so between the two, they're beginning to develop the recipe for what you're talking about.
Amazing.
Yep. So that is my dream, and I know that here is people who know who doesn't know, they don't know my job, right, with prosthesis. So I just want to show what we have doing and what we are working right now with the 3D printed prosthesis, right? So as you know, I started to work with prosthesis in 2009 with my cousin. He lost part of his hand, so I create these mechanics to bring him back the movement of the fingers. It is quite close to the mechanics that is that is used for the X finger. Maybe you know you design something similar to the X finger, right? So that is quite close to that design and approximation. And I published that in a Cuban magazine review, medical. So nowadays we have fixed already more than 260 prostheses, 3D printed prostheses to children, not only in Colombia, is all around Latin America. For example, the last month I went to Mexico and I bring one 3D printed prosthesis to our children who received a 3D printed prosthesis 2 years ago. So we follow the process with them even if they are in other country, right? So our team is mainly composed by different professionals. Here is Yuri Olarte, who is TO, occupational therapist, and she helped us with all the protocols that we follow with children, teaching them the technology and training them with the use of the processes. And here is Catherine Pinto, who is psychologist, and she evaluates all the children from the beginning to the end of the process, and that is very important to follow them and to assist them during all the time that they are growing. And Fabian Pedraza, who is orthesist and prosthesist professional. He's ISPO. I don't know how to say that in English. Yeah, but it's, yeah. And Antonio Pulido, who is a student in biomedical engineer, and Wilmer Garcia, who is a plastic artist. So, they are my people, they are my team, and I support the work of Fabrilab and give me 5 on them. Yeah? Without them, anything will be possible, like the work that we are doing in Colombia. So, we use this kind of 3D scanner to take the digital model, as you know. We use this kind of printers that we build by our own. Yeah, we don't have money to buy other commercial printers. And we evaluate all the kits with physicians and physiatrics, just to compare the use of the prostheses, the commercial ones, with the 3D printed prostheses, right? That is very important. And those are the kinds of prostheses that we develop. So, the partial hand, that is the promimetic hand, that is the results of the feedback of the children that they suggest us what to change, right? We started with a stiff wood design. You know what is it? Yeah, the flexi hand too, right? We started with that, and we realized that we could improve many things on that design, right? So that's why we are using our own design that we already shared with the community 2 years ago. 2 or 1, I don't remember. 1 year ago, sorry. 2? Okay. So you can download those designs from Thingiverse, yeah?
What is it called?
There in the presentation is the link. Let me show you. Here. So you can download the design from here, from Thingiverse, and the insertable steps in that link. So let me show you those links. First, the insertables. Sorry. Sorry, it is in Spanish, but if there is a volunteer who wants to translate it, you are welcome. So, here is the promimetic, and you can download the steps. So, the first step is sorry, it is not charging the page. Yeah, let me wait a little bit. Yeah, just wait. Sorry, the internet is too slow. Let me. Okay, so that is the model. So the first step is how to take the measures, but there is more pictures there. I don't know why there is no. Okay. So as we know that not all the people they have a 3D scanner, we show the method using plaster. Plaster? 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 Yeah, plaster. So it is an example how to take the plaster, right? Sorry, this is not working here in this Explorer. I'm gonna change it to.
And that process is the same thing we're proposing to do with a resin rather than a plaster. So the fiberglass resin impregnated tape, which is activated by water, could make an exact fit, just like he's doing there with making that mold.
Unfortunately, the internet is not working well, but there is full of videos where they show, here we show how to make all the process. From the scale to the 3D printing, and to the thermoforming, and to the how?
Assembly.
Sanding,
Sanding.
the sanding of the pieces, and to the how to decorate the and paint the prostheses. So there's videos that show it. Let me show another video there, and the assembling of the prostheses as well. Sorry, the internet is not working. And then how it is the fixed and training of the prostheses as well. So there is 9 steps that I propose like a protocol to bring a prosthesis to a child, right? Okay, let's come back to the presentation. So I was here. So, so this is the hand. For example, this is a special design. As you can see here, fingers start from this part because he has an extended hand, right? So it's like a this, right? So you can, of course, with 3D scan and printing, customize all the prostheses. Each person is different, totally different, of course. So this is the promimetic arm, and the prosthesis that is upper the elbow, right? And the myoelectric that I showed 1 or 2 years ago? 2, okay. And the promimetic that at the moment we made all the regulations and the stuff that is asked for the government, the Colombian government, and we are this model is a commercial model that we are only selling to hospital there in Colombia, but it's just for them, not for more people, because we have to test first of all what is the security of those devices with them, and the hospital allows us to do that research with the people who is in that hospital. Yeah, and the last one, that is our last release, and it is using a device that is called the M5 stack. So it is like one Arduino mixed with one Raspberry, you know? So you can embed a software and a system, and it has a touch screen. So we are using this device to control the prosthesis, right? But as well, we are using this device to teach to children how to work with robotics, right? So the device is controlling the prosthesis, but as well, the device serves like an interface to teach stuff, like a robotics, right? So we are performing different workshops with children, teaching them artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, right? That is special topics that they want to learn and to empower them with technology and knowledge. That is some main purpose, like a social project, right? So here is something about my master thesis research that I made testing lower limb prosthesis. Right now, we are improving that design because we tested it and it was broken many times. So that's why it's still on research. And it is the video that we developed to train the children with their prostheses. So that is the Mayo band, and it is controlling the game, right? So in that way, we train children and we teach them how to use their prostheses.
Con las prótesis bioeléctricas. Este es un desarrollo en conjunto y pues creemos que esto va a ser un gran avance para poder realizar los procesos.
So the name of the game is Tank Mayo. That's it. Okay. So as I say, we know that the power of the knowledge is high. So that's why we are empowering children with knowledge. That is why we perform different workshops, teaching them how to design, how with Tinkercad design their own decoration for their prostheses, and with different workshops teaching them robotics, right? And teaching them how to cook with their own prostheses. The most important for their children is to let them know how to use their prostheses to do daily activities. And I think that is the most important thing when you bring a prosthesis. It's not just bring a prosthesis. It's to follow the process and teach them how to work with the prosthesis in different kind of activities. And that guarantee that the children is going to still using the prosthesis for longer, because normally children are using the prosthesis once, twice, and then they left the prosthesis. And that is something that is true, it's true. But if you teach them how to use the prosthesis in the proper way, they are going to use the prosthesis in different activities, and they are going to keep the prosthesis with them, right? And, okay, that's I'm gonna share with you one video that is translated to English, so you can read a little bit. As I say, I am not the only one who is doing this. My work is supported by my team, of course. There is no translate. Oh, sorry. So there is no point to show the video.
Gosh, you look much younger there.
Yeah, that was 3 years ago. But there is no translation, so there is no point to share it. Sorry.
You say,
Okay.
Can I just ask to stop about your printers? I was very interested. We also have one of our key successes is that we actually do make our own printers. We have one of our people who does rep wrap printing and he's there, he can service it. I don't think we would have been as successful had we not had someone in our community who already was familiar with 3D printing. How do you guys actually make all the 3D printers yourself?
Yeah, because there is a cheaper way.
Yeah.
And we don't have many resources, even if we have received many help from the community, e-NABLE community. I remember that Jen once sent me like 3 spool of material, and I remember the UK team that is Unlimited team.
Team on, yeah. Team
Yeah,
Unlimited.
they sent us like I don't remember exactly what was the amount of money, but they like it of work and they support of work. We have received many help from many people, but of course that is not enough with the amount of children that are in Colombia in the need of one prosthesis. Because we have suffered over 50 years of conflict between different groups, and the landmines they are spread everywhere, right? And not only that, the thing is that they spread the farms and the cultivos. How do you say cultivos?
Props.
Crops. They spread crops with glyphosate. You know what is glyphosate? It's chemical pesticides. Yeah, they spread with pesticides, and then children born without legs and without arms, and nobody wants to recognize that, but there is a fact. Yeah. So that is why in my country there is many children without arms and legs, right? So now, as I show you the presentation, I'm gonna show you how to work with the bioprinter, right? So first of all, you have the system here, and let me show you the interface. So it is called the DNA Studio, right? And you can print different kind of thing here. So you can search different structures. Let's see. Yeah, for example, like this, right? You can print this structure there in a petri dish. So I just printed it's like a testing, right? Or you can print this kind of structure like a bone, right? This is called the fresh printing method, but you can print, of course, without super material. So I'm gonna print something here, and I'm gonna show you what is the protocol that you can use. So first of all, you choose, maybe you want to know how to work with the bioprinter, you can come here because there is no screen that I can share from the touch screen to the computer. So you can choose the bioprinting option and then select the model that you have to print. I'm gonna print the square that you can preview here, right? And I'm gonna select the kind of surface that is going to be used. In this case, I'm gonna print in a glass slice, right? So then you can select the tool that you're gonna use to print it. And I'm gonna select the second tool, so the middle one. Yeah, so I'm gonna use the pneumatic 3mm, right? And you can see the nozzle diameter that is 410, the pressure that is 20 kilopascals, and the velocity, right? It is 20 millimeters per second. And the material that you are using, this material is called Selling Star, and that is for demo, right? Now, you can select the kind of grid that you will use. So there is different paths that you can follow, like a grid, honeycomb, rectilinear, linear, concentric, gyroids. So I'm gonna use the honeycomb in this case, right? Yeah. So now we can see the preview of what we're gonna print. So the structure that we are going to print is this, right? So we can do zoom and see what we're gonna print. Now we're gonna select the printing, but before that, before to print, it is going to make the calibration. So I'm gonna show you how the matching calibrate by itself. That is one of the most important things of this matching. So it is 3 options. I'm gonna use the automatic calibration. So it asks first for the tool to calibrate, and I'm gonna check it and start the calibration process. So the first thing that the machine is going to do is to calibrate the print bed, right? And the second option is to calibrate the print heads. So the calibration is a complex process where the machine know exactly in which position is and each of the print heads where are those print heads in the space. It's a touch. It's a mechanical.
You calibrate before every run, before every print?
Yeah, exactly. So now it's calibrating the print heads.
Well,
So it is calibrating the XYs.
Little joystick there.
Yeah. Looks like a joystick. Yeah. So the calibration process happens with all the print heads. If you have just one print head printing, just one print head
We set
printing
this
is going
job
to
up
be
for all 3.
calibrated. Okay, it is calibrated already. So set and now start. Sorry, has I printed before? It's not going to be pretty clear what is printing. But the most important is to show you that you can print with different biomaterials. So it is barely show that, but the previous printing, you can see the previous printing here, right? Right. Yeah, as you can print on the top of one super material, you can print on the top of one petri dish without super material. Yeah? Let's print a nozzle, right? So I'm gonna print the nozzle on the top of that, right? So I would like to ask to Melvin here and print the nozzle. He has been working with this bioprinter in his lab because you want to study what?
I want to be a mechanical. I'm going to be a electrical mechanical engineer.
Yeah.
We are doing research on biomaterials to be able to replicate bone scaffolds. So what we're doing, instead of using gels, we're using thermoplastics that are also biocompatible, and we want to do some testing. We're doing some testing on it to be able to also put cells on it and help the regeneration process, regeneration process of bone on humans. Hopefully, I think at one point as well.
So